Good morning, guys. We are out here at the Northwest ADHD Center. They're getting some lights swapped out. As you can see, we got Israel here swapping out this guy. You can see the bulbs are just the old fluorescent, so we're going to be upgrading them to some LEDs. Just more energy efficient, and it gives out better look. So you can see this guy is already malfunctioning. So we're definitely going to be checking the wires and power just to make sure everything is up to date and working properly. Currently have this guy open now. As you can see, this one is completely out. So could be a bulb, or we're gonna open it up, replace it, and hopefully lights up. If not, we're gonna need to do some deeper digging into what the issue would be. But pretty much what we'll be doing here is just swapping out these lights. So as you can see, this one was just a bulb that was bad. We did have to tweak this a little bit because the way this was factory installed, it pointed the light to have it be this way. With the previous bulb, it did have bulbs all the way around, so that was not an issue. But with this specific type of bulb, because there's the drivers in the back to convert it to LED, it doesn't give you a full 360 cover like the last bulb did. So all we had to do is just tweak it a little bit to make this facing straight forward, and once we put the light, it'll look a little bit better. Or the cover, I meant. We will be cleaning that a little bit on the inside. The yellowing is just from the weather, so I don't think that'll go away, but give it a little clean before we put it back on. All right, so a little update. This was the flicking one. That was just flickering. We thought it was the bulb, and went to go ahead and replace the bulb, and this bulb also kept on flickering even though it's new. So all the other ones worked besides this one. I checked the ballast. I checked the the wiring on the inside. Everything was working, as it should be. And so my assumption now is that there is probably a connection somewhere along this driver up here where the socket actually goes into. I think that one is the one that's not functioning properly, and that's why it's not making the connection that it is to keep a steady, constant light. So we're gonna discuss it with the client, let him know what he wants to do. But as of now, this light is also flickering, and this is the only light that's doing that compared to the other ones. So currently it's not on right now. We figured out that they are on a timer switch. So yeah, we have the switches off right now. Israel's working on putting back the other lights, but once he does, we'll go ahead and turn those on, and we'll walk around and show you how the lights look. Okay, so here is the electrical room for the exterior lights. Looks like they got two conduits going up out of this box. The breaker for the outside lights is on circuit number 6, which would be this guy here. I have it labeled. But since we are just working on the lights, we don't necessarily need to turn off power. So they're actually being controlled by this timer switch, which probably then goes into a bunch of contactors inside of here. So once I hit this, you'll hear the loud click, and you'll hear that it starts running. So lights were off on the outside now. I'm about to turn them on. Heard that. As you can see, there's some here that are also not working. Most of them are. Go back over here. Show you guys that flashing one. Almost looks like it's here are those two working properly. There's this guy flashing away. signaling the parties over here, although it's really not. It just has more issues than the other ones. And then over here, Israel's finishing installing these. And looks like we will have one without power. So maybe two that needs to be swapped out. But yep, so there is that. Might need to double check that guy. And then the flickering one we know is the driver on top. Nothing to do with the wiring nor the ballast. I believe even if we try bypassing, because the actual socket driver is not functioning properly, it's gonna do the same thing regardless. Um, so there's that. Only this one. I left this one off just because we're gonna discuss with the client, let him know, and then see if he wants to keep it on or take the bulb off. But most likely it would probably be bulb off. Alrighty. All right, so same location. We are looking to install pole lights in here. Looks like they have one over there. I would suggest maybe adding one right there, and maybe one on the opposite side. Looks like they brought power directly to the light posts themselves, obviously through the ground. I've walked the perimeter of the parking lot and have not been able to find a box where the wirings came through. So um, yeah, that would be something to look for. Like I mentioned, walked around the whole perimeter around that corner. I think they were discussing about possibly putting another light pole right there. I have this guy here, which wasn't working this morning when we got here. So that would be something also to kind of take note, is possibly even look at into the existing ones, making sure they have power and stuff. But yeah, this simply just goes up and exposes only the nuts and everything that lock it into place into the foundation itself. So wires are definitely going in through the light post itself. Like I mentioned, this one wasn't on. Looks like some of them are on, as you can see, that guy and that guy over there. Let me turn on this screen. But yeah, so that guy there and this guy is not working. So there'll be something to troubleshoot there. I would suggest putting maybe another light post here and at the other end, because as of now, looks like the lights are only on the outside and nothing is in the middle area. So I would suggest maybe one post here, one post there, possibly that have more than one direction. Seems like they need some more light around this playground area. Um, if they're thinking of putting one in that corner, possibly in another corner. But that being said, will require quite a bit of trenching to be able to, one, find our spot of power. We know where the panels are, which are alongside that side of the wall. Um, but besides that, there's nothing really else that would indicate that we can get power from that's already out here. It would need to come, seems like, directly from the panel itself. So yeah, that's one thing to take into consideration. As I mentioned before, this one is working. Seems like they actually had a fire out here. This thing is pretty burnt, but power's coming in through here again. No other signs of like a underground box or anything like that that will provide us a spot to get power from. So we will need to plan a way to have to get power from the panel and bring it out here, and most likely it will have to be underground. So it's going to be quite a bit of an expense, um, but definitely possible. So I was mentioning, here's the electrical room, and the outside is right here. Um, there is a control valve, that's just for the valves. It's not a box for electrical necessarily. And so the idea for what I would assume how it would work would be somehow getting power from the panel out here, and then since that would be shortest point, we can make one of those boxes, and it'll probably be easier to trench through the actual dirt side instead of going through all this concrete. So that's why it'd be easier getting over there where there's dirt and then running over here back into the parking lot. So that'd be an idea of something that we could do. Um, but yeah, that's the only way I can think of right now that would allow us to bring power out here from the panel. Um, the other thing would be maybe possibly splicing at the lights. I don't know. That would be something we could do. Put like a box, the outside of that cover, um, make it into like a J box, and then just run pipe on the behind and to where whatever the new light location needs to go. So like let's say light's gonna go in there, grab power from this guy, and you can just take it over there. Um, Again, turned off the switch and the lights turned off. So I did get an update for this light here, flickering one. Yeah, bulb's gonna come out, and the journeyman discussed with the client what the next steps would be, but got instructed to take the bulb out, so I will be doing so. Putting the cover back on, and then that will finalize the install of the lights.